Greetings, friends. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today, hence my unshaven face. Please forgive me. Got a cold, touch of the flu maybe. It's a good time to discuss having a bad Zen practice. So I had a friend email me recently, and she was very upfront. We were talking about writing, family, life, politics, and out of nowhere in her email she said, my practice, I've been under the weather and my practice has been basically non-existent lately. And this got me thinking about having a bad Zen practice, or being in a phase when your practice is not up and off the ground and humming. What does this even mean? That your practice is not going well, that your practice stinks. Well, I think what people usually mean when they email me this, and I get this email a lot, I think what people mean is, I had a commitment at some point to sit consistently, to meditate, do Zazen practice. Usually it's like once a day, and people have their own guidelines for how much they want to sit. But usually it's like they want to sit 5 to 7 times a week, at least one sit. I have found that's what when people contact me and they have issues with their practice, that's usually what they mean, is that they stopped doing that. Or they can mean they're still doing their daily practice, but it's stuck. Their wheels are spinning, they hit the cushion and they fall asleep, or they hit the cushion and their mind goes crazy. But I want to just take a brief sidebar before we go into some techniques that I've found interesting and helpful when I can't practice. Before we go into those, I want to talk about just practice contexts. The context that you're practicing in is very different than, say, the context of a family in Japan that considers themselves Zen Buddhists and is affiliated with a temple. They may show up for certain events at the temple. Ikebana flower arrangement was one of them, I remember, as well as they played some musical instruments, as well as maybe haiku. So there's certain events at temples, and then there are certain big ceremonies that you come and you're a part of. And then you employ or you use the priests for funeral rites and for funeral ceremonies. And all of that I just mentioned may constitute the whole of your practice. You have a context as a practitioner, okay? Like, this is really important. That's where I'm going with this. Context is so important because it's going to shape everything about how you practice and how you think about your practice and how much time you waste worrying that you're not doing this one piece of practice called Zazen correctly or intensely enough, etc., etc. So you have a context. I'm just going to assume that you're a lay practitioner, that you've got family obligations and responsibilities, property bills, electric bills, all kinds of credit card bills. You need to buy pillowcases, light bulbs. You've got children to take care of and or siblings to make relationship with, not to mention parents, and you've got all of your work responsibilities. Like, much of your day and energy is going to be spent at work. So this is your context. This is the field in which your practice is going to arise and take shape. So it's worth kind of noting this for a moment. Noting that you have obligations and responsibilities in this life that your practice is going to inform, but you don't necessarily, as opposed to like a full-time monk, have obligations to do practice, right? Like you're choosing to do Zen practice. You're choosing to do meditation. You're choosing to spend your precious free time sitting on a zafu cushion, breathing, doing shikantaza, or reading Zen Buddhist texts, Pema Chodron books, etc. Now that we've been disabused of the idea that to have or do our Zen practice means we need to be sitting on our special cushion with our special Zen incense going, doing the exact breath, shikantaza, zazen practices that we were taught by a Zen teacher, that this is the alpha and the omega of our Zen practice. Now that we've been disabused of that notion, what might Zen practice look like within the context of a lay life, a person with the responsibilities that I just mentioned you may have? Well, okay, I'm going to give you an example from my own life, something that I did recently. So I was really tired, and it was the end of the day, and I had been sitting in a chair much like this all day at my desk, right? It was like an 8-9 hour stretch of just sitting. Yes, I got up and moved, but mostly I was sitting. And now, you're kidding me? I gotta fold my pillow in half, stick it on the floor, and sit for another 20 minutes? There was some part of me, probably my spinal column, that was like, no. And I got up off my cushion, and I walked around my room. Now, I was taught that when you're sitting, meditating, you're doing the simplest activity possible with as much sincerity and focus and giving and concentration as possible. And that activity is just sitting, right? So it's a very, very simple activity that you're giving your attention to. Now, technically then, within the context of a lay life, remember, there are different simple activities that you can give your attention to in order to cultivate your Zen state of mind or your Zen practice. So, on this particular day, it occurred to me that much of my room, my bedroom, was unkempt. There were things out of place. There were things that had been dropped on the floor or that were misplaced on the shelf, etc. And I went around the room, not with the intention of cleaning, but I went slowly and deliberately, and I noticed things. And if they were out of place, I put them back in place. This went on for, I don't know, maybe it was 20 minutes maximum, and I held my mind to the task. It was open but focused. And in this way, the environment came alive around me. I truly saw it. And I would consider that to be a kind of Zen practice, okay? I was no longer in an objective or an instrumental relationship with the things in that room. I brought my attention to a pen, and I picked it up and I felt it in my hands as an object, as a thing. I gave it my attention. This is key here. Practice is really just giving your attention, right? Giving your attention to an activity. In the case of going around my room like I was, picking things up, giving my attention to the sensation and the arrangement of the object, and putting it in its proper place. I called this the poignant amble. And the point is to do a simple activity with intention and without a goal in mind at all. The aim is to simply make relationship with the object, to make relationship with your surroundings, to do the activity in and of and for itself completely. Now, this can be walking meditation. I've done a video on that, walking around your block. It can be simple activities like gardening or working with your hands, scrubbing the sink, scrubbing the floor. The point is not to get lost in the idea of accomplishing something. cleaning or gardening or exercising, but to do the activity with focus and intention in and of itself, for the activity, not for an end. And you probably have to slow the heck down. That's kind of important, is taking a breath as you would on the cushion, stopping within your life. Remember, you're a lay practitioner and you have all those responsibilities I talked about. So it's not a small thing to stop in the middle of your life. It's hard, okay? And sometimes we pretend like we have a meditation practice and we pretend like we're doing Zen practice, but really we're just keeping ourselves busy with these self-improvement, self-development, self-help projects, one of which Zen meditation is. So it's like you're busy all day doing your busy life, and then you're like, now I'm going to, in a very busy way, do nothing. But that's not necessarily Zen practice. You can flip the script, as it were, and walk around your room and move objects to their proper place, but done with intention, focus, giving, and concentration. That becomes Zen practice. Okay, secondly, let's say you're ready to do your sitting meditation practice. You sit down on your cushion and you decide, I just can't do it today. If you get into that state of mind, the second thing you might want to do, and I'm speaking strictly from my personal experience here, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, you might want to consider something. Just spend a moment considering something. And what you might want to consider is that the reason you don't want to sit is because some part of you wishes to continue to suffer, right? I had this experience the other day. So I recently finished, after a very long period of time, a creative project, a novel, writing a novel that was very important to me, and it was a very sort of quixotic, crazy Sisyphean task to complete this novel, but I finally did it, and now I am getting it to my first beta readers, which is one of my best friends and my girlfriend. So it's like, in any event, like it's a big moment in my life. I've been trying to write this thing for a long time, and in some sense my calling or my lifelong project as a writer is kind of coming to fruition with this particular novel. In many ways that could be said. So it's on my mind and it's in my heart and it's with me now. I'm carrying it around all day as I get feedback from these two first readers, because it's a longer book and so they're having to work through it. And some part of me is is always waiting for their feedback, right? Now, the other day, I sat down on my cushion and I was getting ready to do my meditation practice, and my girlfriend was in the other room reading my book, and I just couldn't practice because I was carrying this expectation and this excitement and this fear that she's finally going to start hating the book. The news is pretty good so far in my feedback, but you never know. The next page may be the beginning of the end for your creative project, which goes down the toilet, right? So I was carrying this anxiety and expectation onto the cushion with me, and I had to be really honest with myself. And it was just like, you want to suffer. You want to sit here and worry that she's going to hate it, that you wasted your time. You want to make this book the central thing in your life that you have to succeed at in order to be the kind of human being you want to be. That's the hill that you're willing to die on right now. So admit it. That's why you can't sit. You want to continue to suffer. You're attached. That is the definition of suffering. Suffering is caused by not desire, but attachment to things and ideas and concepts and ways that we want our life to go, ways that we want the world to go, ways that we want people to be. I guess I want to keep on suffering because I couldn't sit that day. I was anxious and I was growly inside, and I just couldn't do it. So it was a reminder to me of just how gutsy Zazen is, how you are asked to put whatever your most important attachment is, you're asked to put that aside for 20 minutes while you breathe in and breathe out. Like you take off your shoes outside the Zendo and you leave them there. And with your shoes that you leave outside the meditation hall, you leave your concerns, your worries, and your biggest attachment. Because when you sit down on the cushion, that is the first thing that is going to come up. And very often it drives you off of the cushion, or it keeps you off of the cushion in the first place. So far we've got, consider that you may want to keep on suffering. We've got, do some other activity than sitting and breathing with focus and intention, be it gardening, be it getting a wet cloth and slowly, mindfully, with focus, scrubbing your floorboards, or taking items that are out of place in your room, feeling the heft, weight, color, and size in your hand and putting them in place, noticing practice, okay? Thirdly, I would like to introduce something that my friend, a Zen Buddhist monk, calls the 5-second rule. So the other day, he was laughing at himself. And he said, we had our Rohatsu retreat, and I gave a Dharma talk that was one of the worst talks of my life, he said. He said it was just stunning. I opened my mouth, and this car wreck of a Dharma talk came out. And so I said, come on, let me hear it, because he had recorded it. So I said, okay, so he played it for me. And it actually wasn't that bad, which is interesting. And one of the things he talked about in that talk was the 5-second practice. 5 seconds of practice. Everybody can do 5 seconds, okay? And it is my contention, and I hold to it, and I ask, or I invite you to consider it, that less is oftentimes enough. Less is maybe not more, but it's oftentimes enough in Zen Buddhism. So if you can stop in the middle of your day at work, and if you're just sitting in your chair like this, put your hands, everything done intentionally and with focus and taitoku, as I've talked about in previous videos, manifesting with the body, apprehending and knowing with the body, doing with the body, right? And sit in a meditative posture and just do 5 seconds of complete exhale, for example, and complete inhale. That may be enough. 5 seconds of being where you are completely, okay? Being in the moment, if you will, completely. You don't need to do more than 5 seconds. Just do 5 seconds. Maybe even 25 seconds is too much. Just 5 seconds. And then if you want, try 5 more seconds. Sounds ridiculous, but as I said, it doesn't take much time to hit the reset button, right? That's what you're doing. You're hitting the reset button. So one of the things I noticed when I was working, when I was trying to sit the other day, and my girlfriend was reading my novel in the other room, one of the things that I noticed was Zen Buddhism is extremely revolutionary and rebellious, excuse me. Rebellious practice, like it asks you to go against the stream. Like it asks you to step out of your life as you know it, to step out of your attachments and your responsibilities and your obligations. And the truth is, most of us go hours, days, weeks, months, years, never stepping out of our attachments or responsibilities, never stepping back from our lives, our mundane, beautiful, interesting lives. We identify with ourselves and our roles, be it a computer programmer or a school teacher or a mother, father, grandfather, child, daughter, son, whatever it is. We have all these roles, all these responsibilities, and we completely identify with and as these things. And we get stuck. We get chained down by our ideas about who and what we are. So whether you're sitting for 30 minutes a day, sitting for an hour a day, 2 hours a day, or you're just able now to do the 5-second rule, however long you're doing it, it's always revolutionary. You're stepping outside of and away from your attachments and your identity, and you're practicing Zen. You're practicing connection with the whole cosmos, an identity that's so much bigger than yourself, an identity that's ineffable, that it has no shape, that it can't be put into words, that it cannot be mathematically calculated. Like, you're letting go of your human concerns. You are a home leaver, as they call it. You're leaving home, as they call it in the ancient Buddhist texts. That's what the Buddha did. He said, Sayonara, Yasodhara, my wife. His wife was Yasodhara. Sayonara, Yasodhara. I'm going to sit under a bodhi tree. I'm leaving my life. I'm leaving home. That's what that means. And you're a home owner, probably a home renter, given the home prices lately. I just found out that it costs, on average, over $400,000 to buy a home in America, so you're probably a renter. But you are a layperson, okay? But when you sit down for 5 seconds or 30 seconds, when you do your practice within the context of your life, you're a Buddha, you're a Zen practitioner. And so it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do, but you can do it. And if you get stuck, like in a rut with your meditation practice, just consider these 3 things that I've talked about today. 5-second practice, a bit of a get real moment with yourself, asking yourself, is it that I wish to continue to suffer? Is that why I can't focus on anything other than the problems in my life or my dreams, hopes, and ambitions? Consider that. Or do something simple, okay, with focus and intention for its own sake, not to accomplish anything. And always bring your mind sort of back to a free and easy, a light touch, so that you don't get too involved in cleaning your room or gardening or doing the dishes or whatever it is, right? Like, this is your practice time, and you're just kind of doing a simple activity to keep your mind on something, because you're not able to just sit on that cushion today, okay? I hope maybe this is helpful for you if you're in a bit of a practice rut. If you enjoyed this video, you can come over to patreon.com/Shozan-Jack-Hobner, and you can support this YouTube channel there. I have different tiers of support. More and more people are supporting me there, and that my Patreon page is becoming an important part of how I pay my bills, so thank you for that. But I offer these things for free, and I'd offer them if people were throwing tomatoes at me, rotten tomatoes and rotten fruit, as opposed to helping me out through Patreon. There's also in the description for this video, there's like a one-time donation through PayPal if you'd like to put a tip in the begging bowl that way. You can hit like and hit subscribe if you wish, and hit the notifications button. It's kind of interesting to see this channel very humbly grow a little bit and to get new people signing up every week. Otherwise, I'm gonna go blow my nose and drink some tea and tend to this cold. Ciao, friends.